This video right here is about the science of a sound mind. Okay? Now, let's just get right into it. Okay? What is sound? Sound is an electromagnetic frequency that carries information. Everything makes a sound. Excuse me. Everything makes a sound. Whether you can hear it or not. Your ears are only designed to hear within a certain range of sound frequency. But that doesn't mean things don't make sounds. You can't hear the sun. You can't hear the spheres in the solar system. But they make a sound. Okay? People say, if a tree falls in the forest and you don't hear it, did it make it? Yes, it made a sound. And this is where feeling comes in. Because I can't hear it, but I can still feel it. And so emotions are sounds. What are they? This is where telepathy comes in. Huh? I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna give you one more Jew before I get back on my point, because I'm stepping on the side to give you a Jew to unlock your power. Emotions are sounds. They're messages. It's up to you to decode the message and digest the information. Huh? Telepathy is not something you do with your mind. It's something you do with your heart and then process in your mind. But I'm gonna leave it right there. And coming back to on point, right? Everything makes a sound. Animals, trees, air, everything. This camera, the desk, if it vibrates, it makes a sound. It's up to you to be able to bioenergetically absorb that frequency and see what it's telling you. So the reason some people don't know how to listen is because they don't know how to hear. And the reason that some people don't know how to hear is because they don't know how to listen. And so with that being said, you have one sense, not five. You have one. Your electromagnetic field. Everything has to touch you before you process that data. Oxygen molecules, gases have to touch your nasal passageways and your nasal hairs before your brain calculates smell. Taste, a physical atom has to touch your tongue in order for you to process taste. Hearing, sound waves have to go into your eardrum and touch the bones in your ears and touch your skull for your skeleton to process sound. Light, eyes, photons have to hit your retina and be converted into electrical signals and sent to the back of the brain, into the section of the brain that deals with optical vision. Then your brain has to process those signals and then refract that signal back out for you to process vision. So without being touched, you cannot have any sense of sense. So I'm sorry, once again, no disrespect to white people, but I'm sorry that white people lied to you. Okay, there's really only one sense, but which is your mind, which is your electromagnetic field. And this is an understanding we had before we were uncivilized by uncivilized people who told us they were civilizing us. But coming back on point, right? Dealing back with the science of a sound mind. Sound is internal and external. Okay? Now you might say, Pharaoh, why are you always talking about internal and external? The internal is something that a specific group of people don't talk about, because from my personal studies, they don't possess an internal. But that's just my personal studies and opinions, and I'll debate that with anybody, but to each his own. So I'm going to just keep it universal. The internal is important because the internal part of yourself is the part of yourself that you produce. It's the part of yourself that you self-sufficient, where you're supposed to be self-sufficient. So for example, externally, we looking for love, right? But if we never get that love, yes, it's going to affect us, because every cause has an effect. But it should never affect us to the point where we destroy, because we should have been giving ourselves love the whole goddamn time. Externally, yes, it's nice if somebody else thinks for you. But if nobody else thinks for you, you shouldn't become an idiotic moron, because internally you should have been thinking for yourself the whole time. So there is a duality to reality at all times. It's the world you live in, and then it's the world outside you that we all live in, and that we all create from universal projections of the world that we all live in. And may the greatest world win. And may the greatest mind win. And with that being said, let's come back to the science of being mentally sound, right? Why are you not sound? And I'm writing a lot of books. I'm writing a book. It's about to be the hardest psychology book in the world. So I won't go too deep. And Pharaoh Island University should be done, if not this week, next week, and we taking off. So I'm gonna say this, right? Remember when we used to go to the doctor and they used to say, are you mentally sound? They don't say that no more. You know why? Because sound determines health. If your body is not in a proper harmonic pitch, you're not healthy. If your brain falls below 72 megahertz frequency, the specific sound waves of your brain, you're not mentally healthy. So your body is nothing but a song that is either in tune or out of tune with its own self. Period. Now you might say, why is this important, right? Let's put ourselves through a process. I don't know where you live, so apply this to whoever you are as an individual. You wake up in the morning, right? And you get out of bed. What do you hear? What do you hear? You hear two things. You hear whatever is going on in your mind, and then you hear whatever is being placed into your mind. So you hear the internal sounds that you creating in your own mind, and then you hear the external sounds that other people are creating outside of their own minds that you are experiencing. So now why is this important, right? It's 1 million people that you heard your whole life, whether you realize it or not. Let me give you an example. If you walk through the mall, you're not really focused on other conversations. So it all just sounds like, and it just sounds like a bunch of noise, a wall of noise. But if you be quiet and you focus on a conversation, you can tune in. So now why is this important? Your subconscious mind has been tuning into people's voices your whole life. However old you are, that's how many conversations you've heard. Now here's the question. Who you listening to? Who has captured your mind to the point where you no longer listening to the conversation you should be having with your own self? Who is guiding you? Because the only person you should ever be really following in all seriousness is you. Who you listening to? Who gave you that bad advice that you've been following for 10, 15 years? Your mama? Probably. Your dad? Probably. The nigga up the street? Probably. Huh? Your friend that's really a hater, but you don't see it because because you're not paying attention to the parts of you that will be able to see that? Probably. So we have to ask ourselves, who are you listening to? And depending upon your answer, from this point on, you ain't been mentally sound. And I said this on Instagram, I'm going to say it again right now. If you are listening to any other voice besides the one that's outside your head, you are crazy. Period. I don't want to hear it. I'm not arguing with you. And I'm not saying that if you tell yourself 1 + 1 is 3, and I'm saying 1 + 1 is 2, then I'm crazy. No, I'm not. Let's be logical here. Let's be adults. Math is math. Science, I'm not talking about that. Let's be mature adults here. Where you want to go, the person you supposed to become, the part of yourself that's your job, your duty, your responsibility that couldn't nobody else take on that responsibility if we wanted to, because that's your job. That's what you're supposed to do with your own free will. That's the part of yourself I'm talking about. Who is that part of yourself listening to? If that part of yourself is allowing somebody else or something else to tell it what to become, you crazy. Period. I'm not arguing with you about that. Period. Period. If you telling yourself, when I grow up, or I am growing up, and this is the person I want to become, and you allowing rappers, NBA players, football players, and all of these other people to steer you in another direction, you allowing white politicians that we've never met a day in our life to steer you in another direction, nigga, you crazy. And you in the matrix. And you so far in the matrix didn't even think you would be that far within it. So with that being said, you have an inner voice and you have outer voices. Whose voice is the loudest in your life? The voice in your head should always be the loudest in your life, until another voice or sound wave comes along and ascends you even more. A more intelligent, louder voice. A more intelligent, wise.